Hello everybody, so today we are going to talk about the channel section on the DP32 and 24. So let's start off by what is the channel section? Well, let me show you here. This is the channel section. You can call it tracks, you can call it channels. We're going to call it channels at the moment because we're going to discuss something about it. So if you have a DP24 or DP24 SD, you will have 12 up to here. You'll have 12 mono channels, and then the rest, so you have, and then 6 up to there, stereo channels. So that's the DP24. The DP32 has a little bit of a different setup. You have 8 mono channels, and then you have what they call the rest being 12 stereo or mono channels. So you can switch them. You switch them to mono, you only have one channel. You don't get to be able to record left and right. You have one. So if you change all these to mono, you have just one. That's all you have. So that being said, so that means the DP24s have 18 channels and the DP32s have 20. So you get 2 extra channels for the money. Now this might be one of the reasons why Tascam went, you know what, maybe we should just stop the DP32 because it's not really, it's kind of a lie. So either way, this is what we're talking about. So this is the meat of the system. This would be, I would consider this to be the meat of the system. This is where things happen. I'm going to turn this on now so you can see my little screen there as well. So what does this mean? Well, this is 100% digital. This machine is 100% a digital machine. Yes, these are faders. They work as analog, but they transfer as digital. And I can show you. So we're going to switch the screen here for a second. And if you notice, we'll look at the level. It's at 0.0. That is what you normally put it at, but you can bring it down to infinity and it follows it. That's how I know it's digital. You can't do this on a Model 24 because the Model 24's board is analog. The only part that's digital on it is the recording part and the transport parts. That's all digital. So now that you know that, so this is 100% digital. That's part of the reason why you see like digital trim and all this other stuff. So what can you do with this? Well, this is a simple, you assign your track. So you go and you assign the track up here onto a channel, and then you can record it, you can listen to it, you can do playback, you can do whatever you want with it. That's pretty much what this does. That's what this board does. It is for recording, and you have a little bit more information or than you do on other machines. Like you have your mixer here, which is what we're in, and you have the ability to change your EQ. The EQ stuff, I don't think it gets recorded that way. I would have to check that. I'm trying to remember if it does. I do know that it will. What I generally do when I record is I try to not play with the EQ until I'm done. So try to get the best sound that I can without playing with the EQ, because once you start playing with the EQ, you start taking things away, and then you can't bring them back that easily. So, that's one thing I know. Now you have in here, I'm just gonna turn off some stuff because this is a song that I just had some fun with, and I don't want it to goof around with anything. So on the board, you have the ability to use the entire mixer here. This is what this is for. And we're going to go through each thing. So first off, you have your EQ, as we've talked about. You have it's a very nice EQ. I love it. It has a graphic display. So if I bring up the gain here, I can see exactly on the screen where I am dealing with things. So I'm just playing with the mids right now, but I can bring the lows in. I can boost them up. I can do some weird stuff, bring this gain back down. So as you can see, let's put it back at 0. So it's 0. Okay, so that's at 0. and you can change where the frequency is. So this is just the bass frequency that I've pulled across really, and then you can bring it down. You can EQ flat it by hitting F1. So I've EQ flat it. It's actually turned it on. You can turn it on or off. There's the on and off button. So I'm playing with these controls over here, as you can see on this side of the screen. And then you have your effects sends, which we'll talk about at another day. And so you can send effects. You have your pan, so you can set it to left or right, whichever side you want, or in the center. Master we'll talk about another day. That's part of the effects send. The level, we're going to talk about that in a minute. You have the ability to insert effects. So if I turn this on, I am now inserting effects, and that is done through the effects loop over here. So that is, so then the effects loops, and I click guitar, and that is done with one of these, so I can do. Now, in the case of this one, we're going to talk about this another day, but you can select as many of these as you want to use just by turning them on, and you can turn them off because you have, we'll talk about that, sorry. I'm trying to figure out what buttons I'm pushing here. So let's go back into guitar, and then you go through, no, we don't want the library, so let's go to the library. And then you have just different effects you can use, and I've turned them all off at the moment. Where's the amp? Oh no, I want guitar. There we are. So amp, you have amp. If you don't want the amp, you don't need the amp. The amp is just there if you're doing guitar work. And then let's just go through compressor. I'm just going to turn everything off for now because I'm just more or less showing you how it's done. So then we go back home. On your screen, on your main screen, you have the ability to look at everything. So this is all your channels from 1 to 32. Now, as you can see, I have mono channels in there because I'm working on a song, and you can see the title looking at your butt. That is the title. If I click F1, I can switch to the timeline. The timeline is where things have been recorded on the machine. So you can see I have recorded a lot of stuff on here already. And you can see all the way down that it's pretty much, I have been recording on this thing, just trying different stuff. So that's already in there. It's mainly drums, and I want to talk about that because I want to talk about one of the drums tracks that I've done. So I'm going to just pull down, oops, I got 9, 10. Let's go back home for a second. Oh, so let's go back to the meter, back on the meter. So 19, 20, 21. So this is all drums right here, straight across. And if I play it, you should be able to hear it. Let's see. Okay, you can hear the drums. Now the one thing is, as you can see, 31 is very low. And that is my secondary drums mics that I use. That was the piezos, or not the piezos, the PZMs. So I go into mixer and I select that track. I'm going to show you how digital trim works here. So we're going to go down to digital trim. So I'm on digital trim. You saw the highlight go down. I'm going to turn it all the way up. And what that will do is that will bring it slightly up. So you can bring it down. So it brought it up just a little bit. Now I did this with brushes, that's why it sounds. Now those are the AKGs. And there you have the kick. And so yeah, so we have gone through a lot of this already. That's the one thing I can say, which I know, is we have gone through a lot of this. But let's talk about how do you record onto one of these tracks. So my Hue camera seems to have died. There we go. All right. So how do you record? Well, the first thing you do is you select a track. You put your inputs in. So you put your inputs in. In my case, I'm using the board over on this side of me to put my inputs in. Technically, in this case, what I was just playing you has been imported. That's a different story. We'll talk about that later. And you put your inputs in. You select whether you want phantom power or not if you need it. If you don't, just leave it off. You then go to assign. And as you can see, assign has now shown up on the little screen down there. So I clicked assign. And then I will select a track. So like we'll just say track 3 for now. And then I can select a source. So I'm going to say track 1. So as you can see now, track 3 is now set to be on A. And so now that's ready to be recorded. I don't have anything hooked up for this yet at this moment. So that is set up. Now to record, what I do is I hit record. Now some things that you need to know. Now as you can see right now, track 3 is on, but I don't have the fader up. You don't need the fader up to record. You can record onto a track with the fader down. The fader is there to set the volume so that you can hear it. So what I would normally do now is after I've set, but a lot of people like to set it, and I think the best place to do that is go into the mixer, and let's go to track 3 for a second. And then put the fader, I'm going to just switch screens for a second. So I'm going to bring the fader up, and we're going to put it at 0.0. So it's red. It turns red when it hits that. So anywhere else, it's white. And then as soon as it hits that spot, it's red. And it shows you on the top whether it's a plus or minus. So then, yeah. So then I put it at 0.0. Now, I generally don't record with effects on, but what I generally do is if I'm recording a guitar, I will record a direct line, as well as possibly use the internal effects if I want an effect on the guitar so I can hear what it'll sound like. Why do I do that? Well, I might want to change the recording later. So what I do, once again, let's go back to this one here, and what I do then is so let's say I have let's switch the assignment around here. Let's say I'm doing guitar. So generally when I do guitar, I will use H, because H is for an instrument. So let's select 3, and then now the source is H. Now what if I want to record a track to listen, or a track that I can put the effect on so I can hear it. Now, there's 2 ways to do this on this machine, and I'm going to show you that in a second, because we're just going to talk about that part of it here. So one way of doing this, if you just want to record a direct line in and you don't want to play with it, you can. This is exactly what I've done here. But if you want to have, say, a virtual amp on the system, and you don't have a DI, like you want to have an amp sound, you don't have a DI box, what you can do, there's 2 different things you can do here. Go to effect, go into are we in the guitar effect? Let me just switch over so I can see it bigger up here. So we're in the guitar section. As you can see, well, in this case, it does not show, it shows position. And let's see if I can try to get that to look a little bit better so you can actually see what it says. Okay, let's put it to there. Okay. All right, so I've dimmed it down a bit here so you can see the writing. As you can see, the position is record and play. What that means is that if I put it on to, so if I turn this on, so let's go here. First we'll turn on the effect. And as you can see, it's set to play. What that means is it's only going to suppress while playing, not recording. So it will when you're recording, it will do it. It will show it, but it won't. Let's go on to track 3 because that's where I want it. So what it will do is when you record, if you have it set to record, it will record this noise suppression. So while you're playing or while you're recording, it will record it onto that track. If you have it set to play, it will not. It will bypass this. It will play it. You'll hear it, but what's recorded down onto that track will be just your direct in. It will not add anything to it. So what I generally do is if I just want to record one track and I don't want to play with it, then I will do this. So then I will, let's say I'll turn on, let's go select an amp. We'll turn on the amp and I'll have it set to play. So I'll have a amp sound that I'm not recording. It's recording just the direct in. It's just recording the direct line of the guitar or whatever instrument I have decided to put in here. And the nice thing about this Insert Effects is you can do this on all of them. As you can see, they all have a record and play section. Now I'm going to try something here because I've never tried this. Let's just turn on compression, and I'm going to change this one to record. And I want to see, does that mean that it's changed? Yeah, so if you turn it on to 1, it will turn it on to all. So you can't just say, well, I want to record the compression, but nothing else. You're stuck with everything. So best, if you're going to do it, just have it on play. Now, the downside to this is if you go and switch to another channel and record another guitar track, you're now going to have your one track, because you can only have one running this at a time. Your next track will have the sound, but your track 3, if you've had it set to play, will have just the guitar sound. It'll just be the direct input from the guitar. So that's something to consider. So how do you work around this? Well, let's talk about the next way that I work around this. So let's go back to here. What we do is we go back to the assignment screen. I will then, let's just select track 4, and I will also assign that to track H. So that will now record both guitar tracks. And then I just hit record on the button here. So now they're both going. So if I go into my home, you will now see on the screen, let's go to, should expand it. The 3 and 4 have H above them, and they're both red. And that is because I am recording them. Now, if you look where it says multi-track, and above that, and below that, you have the letters A, B, C, D to H, and that's your inputs, and then you have like a little just black square above it, or rectangle above it. That is your that is your peak level. So that means that what it does is at that point it will tell you you've gone over, you're now distorting. And you have the exact same thing. If we go zoom in here a bit, you have it here as well. So that is your peak level. So it shows you on both screens what's going on, and it works very well for that. So that is how you record on a track. And then to playback, you can leave it on. If you have the records on here and you just hit play, it'll just play back. So like, let's say, I'll show you what I mean. Let's go assign, clear this for a second. Let's clear. Let's go assign to 1920, and I'm going to assign H. Okay, and I'm just going to turn on record. So I'm not going to record onto it. I just want to show you this because I already have something on there. So now if I go back to the home, you can see on the screen, it's got 19H. Now we go back to here, and if I just play it, it will play that channel. I'll just fade all the rest down, so you can hear it there. And that is 19. Now we have the kick in there just for fun. So if I turn the record off, it turns it off. So you can listen to it once to go back. That's one of the nice things about this machine. Whereas like on the models, if you have it set to record on live, then you have to switch it. I think there's other ways of getting around that. I'm gonna talk about that when I hit a Model 24 again. When I do another Model 24 video about different things, maybe I'll do a tutorial on that as well, like this. So that is pretty much the control system here. So just let's recap for a second. So in the mixer, you have the ability to use all of this. And as you can see, like what I did was I pushed the digital trim up 6 dB. Like you can drop it. This is great for if you have recorded something either too loud and you want to cut it back, or too quiet. In this case, those two microphones were very quiet. I didn't have them set properly when I first did it. You have a full EQ here. Let's just go over on this side. So this is the nice thing about this. You have a full EQ over here. You have controls over all this. What I really love about this section, and I'm going to show you in a second, is I don't have to be in the mixer. I can like select channels. So I've just selected track 9 and 10 over here. So 9 and 10 is now lit up. And if I go and I move, you can see it's turning the effect up. Now it's turned off and I don't have a way of turning it on. But what that means is when you're actually working on the system and you're like, oh, I want 9 and 10 to have more effect, you can just, if you already have it on, you just turn it on, turn it up, and it's nice for that. And I think you can do the EQ as well. So yeah, you can even do the EQ. Currently I have it turned off, but not a big deal. I think you can turn it on from here too. Yeah, you can turn it on from here too. Yeah, just some cool stuff like that, which I think is really, which is really neat. So this works separately from everything. Yeah, so I hope this helps you out. I'm sorry if it was a little jumbled. Tried my best on this one. This is always the most confusing part. We are going to get into recording something shortly and talk about it. And then we're going to talk about the other sections on here as well once we get through this, because there is a lot of sections on this machine. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.